I can't believe what's happening with this team. Commanders fans, this is historic. If you thought last season was just luck, you were completely wrong. Let me tell you, in the last 24 hours, 3 news stories have confirmed what I've been telling you since last year. This team is no longer what it used to be. We have a rookie making waves compared to the best corners in the league. A veteran who just arrived and says this organization feels like a championship dynasty. And to top it off, 3 of our players are among the top 100 in the entire NFL. Do you think this is a coincidence? Do you think all this recognition came out of nowhere? I'll tell you this, Dan Quinn and Adam Peters have built something special here in the DMV. Listen well, after years of watching this organization make questionable decisions, hire mediocre coaches, and waste talent, we finally have leaders who understand what it takes to win in this league. And these 3 news stories are living proof that we're on the right path. Let's start with something that's got me excited, but eager to see in real action. Trey Amos, our second-round rookie cornerback, is making a splash in practice. And you know what? After years of watching this team draft corners that never worked out, we finally have one showing from day one why Quinn and Peters were so excited when he fell to the second round. But let me give you some context because it's deeper than it seems. Amos comes from Ole Miss, where in his last season he put up numbers that pro scouts describe as dominant: 4 interceptions and 25 passes defended. But do you know what impresses me the most? It's not just the numbers, it's how he got them. This kid has a natural instinct to read quarterbacks that can't be taught. When you watch that video of him intercepting a pass intended for Deebo Samuel, and let me remind you that Deebo Samuel is one of the most dynamic receivers in the entire NFL, you're not seeing luck. You're seeing a player who studied the route tree, anticipated the play, and executed perfectly. And why is this so important for us? Because we've been years since the days of Darrell Green looking for a cornerback who could be a shutdown corner from day one. Do you remember Josh Norman? He came as a free agent, had a decent season, but was never that guy who could completely take out the best opposing receiver. William Jackson III? Undeniable talent, but could never stay consistently healthy. Now we have Amos competing directly with Marshon Lattimore for the starting spot. And that tells me TWO things. First, that Quinn is not giving away positions based on reputation. And second, that this kid has something special because Lattimore is a Pro Bowl corner when healthy. But here comes what really excites me. Quinn comes from a defensive system with the Cowboys that produced Trevon Diggs, who led the league in interceptions, and Darren Bland, who set a defensive touchdown record. Coincidence? I think not. Quinn knows how to develop aggressive corners who seek the ball, not just cover. And when I see Amos's characteristics, 6'1", 190 pounds, speed to run with any receiver, but with the intelligence to anticipate routes, I see exactly the type of player who can thrive in this system. Do you remember when our secondary was our weakest point? When every Sunday we knew the opponent was going to attack through the air because our corners couldn't cover? Well, those days are ending. With Lattimore when he's healthy and Amos developing at this pace, we're going to have a secondary that will give nightmares to Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Daniel Jones. And let me tell you something else. The fact that Bleacher Report has him as one of the 5 rookies getting the most attention in the entire league means it's not just us fans seeing this. National analysts are paying attention to what's happening here. The official training camp starts on July 18th, and I guarantee that by the time it ends, we'll be talking about Amos as our cornerback of the future. Because one thing is to stand out against your own team's receivers in organized practices, but a whole different thing is to maintain that level when pads and real contact arrive. Do you think Amos can be our next shutdown corner? Because I'll tell you one thing, if this kid maintains this level when the real games start, not only are we going to have a good secondary, we're going to have one of the best young secondaries in the entire NFC. If that surprises you, wait until you hear what a veteran who has won championships has to say about this organization. And when you thought we were done with the good news, here comes something that's giving me goosebumps. Dietrich Wise Jr., a guy who spent 8 years with Bill Belichick and the Patriots, who won a Super Bowl with that dynasty, who lived through Tom Brady's golden era, just said something that confirms everything I've been telling you about Dan Quinn. Wise says that the culture Quinn has created here in Washington feels just like the one they had during the Patriots' golden era. Can you grasp the weight of those words? A guy who was there, who lived through 6 Super Bowls, who knows what a winning organization feels like from the inside, is saying the same thing is happening here. But let me delve into this because it's much more significant than it seems on the surface. Wise isn't just any player giving generic quotes to ingratiate himself with his new team. This man arrived in New England in 2017, right when the Patriots were at the peak of their dynasty. He played alongside Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Rob Gronkowski legends who knew what it meant to work at a championship level. Listen to these exact words from Wise. Practice execution becomes game reality. That's exactly what Belichick preached religiously. And now Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. are applying that same philosophy here. But do you know why this is revolutionary for us? Because for decades, this organization never had a clear identity. Do you remember the Mike Shanahan era? Individual talent, but never a cohesive culture. Jay Gruden? More of the same. Ron Rivera? Good man, but never established that winning mentality separating good teams from great ones. Quinn arrived here and from day one established non-negotiable standards. Not just in how to play, but in how to prepare, how to think, how to live as an NFL professional. And when a veteran who won with the most successful organization of the last 20 years says that he feels the same energy, that is absolute validation. But do you know what impresses me most about this comparison? That Quinn has taken the best of Belichick's system, but modernized it. Belichick was great, but was a dictator. Players respected him out of fear, not love. Do you remember when Tom Brady left because he couldn't stand the environment anymore? When veteran players started publicly complaining about the lack of communication, Quinn has that same intensity and attention to detail, but is accessible. He connects with modern players. Wise clearly states it. Quinn knows how to resonate with the current generation without sacrificing standards of excellence. And let me tell you something about Wise that gives his opinion even more weight. This man is not a cheerleader. In New England, he was known for being direct, for calling things as they are. If he says that this culture feels like a dynasty in the making, it's because he really believes it. Do you remember the stories about the Patriots during their golden era? How every player, from stars to practice squad players, knew exactly what their role was and executed it to perfection. How practices were more intense than some games. How mental preparation was as important as physical preparation. That is exactly what's happening here. Quinn has created an environment where mediocrity is not tolerated, but where players want to give their best because they feel they are building something special. And let's talk about Adam Peters for a second, because he also comes from a winning culture with the 49ers. The combination of Quinn and Peters is no accident. Both understand what it takes to build a championship organization from the ground up. While Jerry Jones in Dallas is more concerned with being a celebrity than winning championships. While the Eagles continue with their internal dramas every season, while the Giants, well, they continue to be a mess. We are building a silent but lethal machine. And do you know the detail I love most about all of this? That Wise specifically mentions Joe Witt Jr., our defensive coordinator. That tells me it's not just Quinn. The entire staff is aligned with this philosophy. From the head coach to the coordinators to the position coaches, everyone is preaching the same message. Do you feel that we finally have an organization that knows what it's doing? Because after years of suffering with coaches who came in with big promises but never established a clear identity, now we have one who not only knows how to win, but has already done so at the highest level as a defensive coordinator. And here comes something that excites me for the future. If this culture is truly being established, as Wise says, imagine what it means for the development of young players like Jayden Daniels, Brian Robinson Jr., and Trey Amos. They are learning from day one what it means to be a championship professional. But all that culture and preparation is reflected in concrete results. And here comes the national confirmation. And here comes what's driving me totally crazy. CBS Sports just confirmed what all of us knew, but the rest of the country was ignoring. This team has elite talent, nationally recognized. Pete Prisco put 3 of our players on his list of the top 100 in the entire NFL. And let me explain why each of these rankings is historic for this franchise. Starting with Bobby Wagner in the 88th spot. And before anyone says only 88th, let me contextualize what this means. At 34 years old, 34 Wagner is still considered one of the best linebackers in the entire league. In a position where most players are retired or depth players at that age, Wagner is still a dominant force. Prisco specifically states his run defense is exceptional, and that's exactly what we needed. Do you remember the last years when teams like the Cowboys ran over us with Ezekiel Elliott? When Saquon Barkley made us look like kids every time we played against the Giants? Those days are over. But Wagner is not just a run stopper. Prisco also mentions he can still cover passes and rush the quarterback, though he acknowledges he doesn't have the same speed as before. And you know what? He doesn't need IT. His football IQ, his ability to read offenses, his skill in positioning. His teammates, those don't age. Do you realize what it means to have a Hall of Famer leading our defense? Because that's what Wagner is going to be when he retires a first-ballot Hall of Famer. And he's here, in his second season with us, setting the standard of what it means to be a professional linebacker. The Giants are still looking for a reliable linebacker after years of mediocrity at that position. The Cowboys have Micah Parsons, who is dynamic but inconsistent as a traditional linebacker. The Eagles have Nakobe Dean, who has potential but is far from Wagner's level. And we have the smartest and most impactful veteran at the position. Moving on to Terry McLaurin in the 81st spot. And this excites me in a way you can't imagine, because finally, he's receiving the national recognition he deserves after years of being underrated. Prisco says something I've been shouting for years. When Terry finally had an elite quarterback, he showed how special he really is. 82 receptions, 13 touchdowns. Do you realize what those numbers mean? Let me put it in perspective. Terry has been in this league since 2019, and in his first 4 seasons, he had to play with Case Keenum, Dwayne Haskins, Taylor Heinicke, Carson Wentz, and Sam Howell as primary quarterbacks. None of those guys were franchise quarterbacks. And yet, Terry produced respectable numbers every season. But in 2024, with Jayden Daniels throwing him the ball, Terry exploded. Not only did he have the best season of his career in touchdowns, but he developed a chemistry with Jayden that reminded us of the great receiver-quarterback duos in this franchise's history. And you know what's most impressive about Terry? His consistency. While other elite receivers like Tyreek Hill or A.J. Brown have seasons where they disappear due to injuries or inconsistency, Terry has played 16-plus games in each of his seasons. He is reliable, durable, and now finally has the quarterback who can maximize his talent. The comparison with other receivers in the division is ridiculous in our favor. A.J. Brown of the Eagles is talented, but always dealing with some injury. C.D. Lamb of the Cowboys had inflated numbers in a season where Dallas had no running game. And the Giants, well, they don't even have a clear number 1 receiver. Terry, on the other hand, is a professional's professional. He runs perfect routes, has reliable hands, and can win matchups against any corner in the league. The fact that he's now receiving national recognition as a top 100 player is poetic justice. And we get to the main event. What's got me more excited than anything in years? Jayden Daniels in the 33rd spot. 33rd in the whole NFL. Do you realize how historic that is for a second-year quarterback? Let me put it in perspective. The only quarterbacks above Jayden on this list are Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. That's the royalty of quarterbacks in the NFL. We're talking about guys who have won MVPs, who have led teams to Super Bowls, who have set league records. And Jayden, after just one professional season, is already being mentioned in that same conversation. Presco says Jayden has star potential and will be an elite quarterback for a long time. But the part that gives me chills is when he says, it's chilling to think how good he can be once he fully learns the position. Chilling. Exactly. Because Jayden already broke rookie records. He already took this team further in the playoffs than we had been in years. He already showed the ability to make plays that only elite quarterbacks can make. And that was in his rookie season. What will happen when he has 2, 3, 4 years of experience? When he develops even more chemistry with Terry McLaurin? When the running game with Brian Robinson Jr. is fully established? When the offensive line has more time working together? Jayden's projection isn't just exciting, it's transformational for this franchise. We spent decades looking for a franchise quarterback. Since the days of Mark Rypien, this organization has spent draft picks, free agent money, and fan hopes chasing that position. And now, not only do we have one, but we have one who is already being recognized as one of the top 35 players in the entire league. In his second season, at 24 years old, and you know what's the craziest thing about all of this? That this top 100 list was probably made before we see what Jayden can do with another year of experience and an offense fully established around him. The fact that we have 3 players, 3 on a list of the top 100 in the NFL, is something we haven't seen in years. When was the last time this franchise had so much talent recognized nationally at the same time? The Cowboys might have more famous names, but half of their roster is overpaid and aging. The Eagles might have some elite players, but they can never maintain consistency. The Giants continue to rebuild year after year without clear direction, but we, for the first time in a long time, have a solid foundation of talent recognized nationally in the most important positions: quarterback, #1 receiver, and the leader of the defense. Do you realize what you just heard? We're not talking about potential. We're not talking about maybe or if everything goes right. We're talking about concrete realities happening right now. We have a rookie dominating practices with technique and instinct that usually takes years to develop. We have a veteran who won championships saying this culture feels like a dynasty. And we have national recognition that our best players are among the elite of the entire league. Let's recap exactly what this means for the immediate future. Trey Amos is going to compete to be a starter from day one, giving us a secondary that can match up against any NFC East aerial attack. The culture that Quinn has established will continue to attract quality veterans who want to be part of something special. And our core of Jayden, Terry, and Wagner will continue to elevate the entire roster's level. But here's what really excites me. This is just the beginning of something much bigger. Training camp starts in 3 weeks, the regular season in 2 months, and I guarantee every week we'll have more evidence that this team is seriously heading towards something historic. Because do you know what separates this situation from previous years when we had unfounded hopes? That now we have external validation. It's not just us fans being optimistic. They're veterans who have won championships. They're national analysts. They're objective rankings confirming what we're seeing. Like, if you believe Jayden Daniels will be in the top 20 next season, subscribe if you think this Quinn culture will take us to the Super Bowl, and comment which of these 3 news stories excites you most and why. Because I want to know if you feel the same energy I'm feeling. Do you think Trey Amos can be our shutdown corner from the first year, or does he need more development? Do you think the comparison with the Patriots is real or just off-season hype? And are you ready to see Jayden Daniels keep climbing in those lists to be in the top 10 of the entire league? Because let me tell you something. This channel is more than football news. We are a family that has suffered through mediocre seasons, incompetent coaches, and questionable organizational decisions. But now we're living something we've never experienced together. Legitimate hope backed by real evidence. If you want to be part of this community that breathes burgundy and gold, that analyzes every move of this organization with real knowledge. And that will be here celebrating when we finally lift that Lombardi trophy we've been chasing for decades. Then join us, Dot. You can't miss what's coming, because I assure you this season will be different from anything we've lived before. And when we're in January playing for championships, we'll remember these days in June when the signs were already there for anyone who wanted to see them. Hail to the Commanders, and see you tomorrow with more explosive news.